We're good, Lori.
Okay. It is 6:17. I will call the meeting to order. Tasia, would you like to do roll call?
Yep. Patty Jo Forsberg. Here. Roxanne Kendall.
Here.
Cherie Link.
Here.
Bruce Belargin.
Here.
Lori Belargin.
Here.
Katie Thermos. Marge Below.
Here. Our district mission, together we engage, educate and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Patty Jo and Marge. Any comments or questions about the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have one request for a public speaker, Patty Schachter.
Hello, everyone. It's not too often that we get to have a proud mom moment. And today, I have a proud mom moment. There's a Somerset person who once said, "You can never go wrong when you do what's right." And when you stick up for what's right, even if it's not popular, sometimes you might not like the results, but it still turns out right. That person was Bruce Larson. Always said that, not you, but I know you followed it. And Bruce Larson is a mentor to everybody in this community. He is the epitome of doing what's right and doing it for the right reason and not falling to pressure. So as Patty Jo ends her career on the school board, I'm so proud of her. We are, as her being part of our family. But I also was a Somerset parent. I am a Somerset grandparent. I was a Somerset School District employee. As an employee, it was the first time I learned about racism in this district. As a school board member, racism was brought up in our school board meeting. As a matter of fact, I think some of you guys are discussing some of the ramifications of that very case. And now racism is right in the front and center. Yes, we can talk about masks, but racism is what's really the conversation that's going on. This is the propaganda that is going around. This is the propaganda that people in our community are looking at. And this is the propaganda that is not acceptable. The mask challenge might have been interesting, but I can guarantee you there are a lot of grandparents in this community, and we will not stand for racism.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. The annual summary report then on bullying is next.
So, I'm going, you have a copy of it. Did you get a chance to
Can we
review?
have it come up? It
Sure.
looks like it's a PowerPoint.
It's a slide presentation. Yep. I don't have a clicker, so you'll have to be my Vanna.
I gotcha.
Thank you. All right, so this is a combination report from our JK to 12 over the last 12 months for policy 55, is it 71, I think? So if you could just go to the next slide for me, Tasia. Thank you. So the policy asks us to look at the trends in bullying and harassment reports that we take, both informal and formal. And so in all the areas that we look at when we do a combination report at the end of the year that we actually submit to DPI, these were the three areas where we had the most. So in the areas of sexual harassment, racial harassment, and sexual orientation harassment. And the numbers that you see in parentheses are JK to 12 numbers. so some that occurred in all of our buildings. We're not breaking it out any further than that just because it could become identifiable as the numbers are not really high. And do also just note that some of the reports that appear in there could fit into more than one of the categories that we looked at the trends for. I couldn't tell you exactly which ones, but some of them did potentially hit both sexual harassment, sexual orientation, that sort of piece. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Tasia. Thank you. So this is a list of all of the pieces that we do on a regular basis and some that we are introducing this year so that we can work to address this behavior. We are in, I believe, year 3 of utilizing restorative practices in our buildings with community circles, conflict resolution circles. We are getting to the point in the middle and high school where we're looking to do some repair harm circles where we have people who are comfortable enough to lead that because it's a much more difficult piece to lead. In all of our buildings, we do have a character education curriculum at the elementary. They use Responsive Classroom, which is community building, morning meetings. In the middle school, we utilize Top 20 training, where we discuss and work on communicating you matter, our number one job being to help each other succeed, to honor the absent, and if we see a problem, we work to fix a problem. And we use that when kids make behavior mistakes and when we work through that with our circles as well. And then at the high school, they've utilized character counts for quite a few years: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. And this year they are introducing a new resource for advisory for 9th and 10th graders called Why Try? And that is one that was vetted against. We utilized mental health grant money to be able to purchase it, and it has to be a CASEL approved program. And so that one will be implemented this year with our 9th and 10th graders. In addition to some of those more building-wide pieces, our school counselors provide lessons to our students, and as needs arise, they hold groups with kids. We do have safety plans if warranted. When groups of students just cannot, when we cannot solve it through our traditional practices, we will put safety plans into place to protect kids. Lots of family communication and involvement. We do the Respect and Courage retreats from Youth Frontiers. The freshmen just had their Respect retreat last week at the high school. And also at the high school, they do leadership training and some peer mentoring. And then when we need to, we do also utilize traditional consequences as that falls into our policy and state statute as well. So that's what we do in a nutshell at kind of that bigger level to work to address the issues that we see, knowing that they aren't going to go away by magic and it's constant effort. Questions?
How does this address like accounts that aren't necessarily directed at a person but are just, you know, racist statements, generalized, you know, like I guess what they're built the wall in the middle school all those years ago. How is that being? How are those type of things being addressed?
So we try the restorative route first. Yep. We always try to go that route first if we can and use it as a teaching and a learning moment. Because we can't always be, you know, to try to get to the root of the why behind it. So we try to start there if we can. If that doesn't work, you know, we have done, you know, either grade level or classroom level meetings with kids as far as, you know, what's acceptable, what's not. And we try to put all hands on deck as best we can. So it's, you know, myself, our behavior coach, you know, our counselors. If we have to get law enforcement involved, we'll get law enforcement involved with that.
Can I ask a question as a grandparent about this? We don't take comments, I'm sorry. Could you perhaps contact Ms. Eichten via email or via phone call at a later time? Thank you. I was wondering though, Sarah, because it's the policy 5517.01, it's called bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually think of bullying as something that doesn't rise to the level of harassment. And I noticed on, in your numbers, there's nothing there about bullying, and I would have thought that would have been the highest number because it's not as extreme as what would be considered harassment.
Well, I guess we took the extreme route when we put this together. When we're tracking something as far as if there's conflicts between kids, we utilize, like, we call it I don't like to call it a bullying form, but it's an interaction form where we work with kids to track if somebody has been targeting someone else. I think we took it for most of the times when this stuff is happening, it is related to the areas that we addressed on the previous slide. There is an amount of teasing, but a lot of it has been in sexual in nature. It can be racial in nature, and so we took it to that point. Bullying really has to be targeted over time, and it does a lot of times then become harassing in nature, and we kind of use them interchangeably. That if we can't get it stopped, then it does become harassing in nature. So.
Okay. So in your report, you're just going to the most extreme?
We are, because we really work to mitigate the smaller issues, like in the building level, so they don't get to that big one. It's when we can't see a change, then it rises to that. So that's the decision that we made when we reported it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did anybody else have any?
I just like what you do in your school with the Post-it notes. I remember there was something on the board where you would point out, or staff would point out.
You're talking about the bulletin board. in
The bulletin
hallway.
board, yes, I'm sorry, with the Post-it notes on the bulletin board with kids that were making good choices.
Oh, our
as far
golden
as-
ticket board.
What's it called?
Our golden ticket board.
Yeah, I
Yes.
love that because I think it's a really proactive way to
Yeah.
address.
Yeah, we do
potential
try to,
harassment.
we do like to talk about all the awesome things that kids are doing too. So I know that list sounds really reactive. We do some things that build the positivity as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a question. Is there any work with the student groups, like the ally group? I don't know what their names are, but I know there was an LGBTQ.
Mhm. Yes.
plus.
Yep, and that would be under groups, like school counseling
And
lessons
that's-
and groups. We didn't name any of them
Okay.
specifically, but yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and trying to get those groups to kind of grow in the schools?
Yep.
or- Okay.
Yep.
I think one other thing that's not on here that I just thought about, that a very active thing we're doing in all the buildings is that we're working with Galen Elmore. And he really comes in and works with our staff and students about the thought of belonging and how, the different groups of students need to be acknowledged and belong to make our school comfortable for all students. So that's a huge push that we're doing through this school year, which has been great.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the new staff support seminars, a request for a food purchase. There's an attachment there, and it's listed as possible action. Would anybody like to make a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, second.
All right, so a motion by Bruce and a second by Roxanne. Are there any questions or comments or discussion about this item? All right, hearing none, is all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then the request for the food purchase is approved. The enrollment update. Mark, did you want to address this? There is an attachment.
Yeah, and again, there's no action needed on this. I think down the road, if we decide to take, and it won't be during this year, well, I shouldn't say that, maybe later on in the year, looking for next year, if we decide to take some action on section sizes and what have you. But this is head count. This isn't FTE. So next Friday, or this Friday, we'll have our third Friday count, and that'll be what we'll base a lot of our information off of. And again, so I mean, it speaks for itself where our numbers are at right now.
Okay, so we've been talking for a while about the 5th grade sections, that they're up to 27 kids. And we talked about this at one of our last meetings, and I referenced the open enrollment report. So I looked that up, and on our open enrollment chart, We have listed for 5th grade that the class size for open enrollment purposes would be 25. So 27 is certainly over what our open enrollment projections would be. So how's it going, Sarah?
They're full.
Is that number solid right now with what we have here?
Yeah, 2 of those is a partial. It's a partial enrollment for some homeschool students.
So they come
So it's
for-
like 3 at 26 and 1 at 27. That's where we're at right now for my sections.
3 at 26?
3 at 26, 1 at 27.
So you have 2 students who come for just certain classes?
Yep, yep. It's full. I mean, it would be certainly much, I mean, it's not unmanageable, but it's not ideal by any way, shape, or form. 22 in a class is a whole lot nicer than 27 in a class.
Especially
better-
when
better
we're trying
kids.
to do just.
A little bit of spacing
distancing.
as possible, yeah. Mhm.
So I can't imagine how much distancing is able to be done when you have 26 or 27 in the room.
It's tight to get 3 feet,
Huh?
for sure.
Looks like 7th grade's not far away, so.
Yeah,
7th
you're
and
right.
9th at 26.
Yep, you're right. So is the 26 in all 4 sections in 7th grade?
2 25s and 2 26s. But they vary a little bit more just based on how the schedule shakes out. So like some sections might have 27 and some might only have 23, just depending on where kids are at throughout the day. My 5th grade is static because they travel as one group. 6th, 7th graders are mixed up.
Right.
So,
And on the open enrollment chart, 7 through 12 is at 27.
I think 27 is the top on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of new 5th graders this year. Like, so we did get additional 5th grade students this year.
Yeah, because last year the projection was 97.
Correct. Yeah, they kept coming in 5th grade.
So if action were taken to split this group into 5 sections, is there a space in your building that could accommodate them?
Yes. We'd have to move some teachers around, but yes, we could make it work.
All right, well, it's on the agenda tonight for possible action. We certainly don't have to do anything at this time, but we have been talking about it, and I wanted people to be aware of what the actual numbers were.
I would just like to wait till Friday, until we get, those hard numbers that we report to the state. Because, we had some surprises at the elementary too, and, you can see some of those very low class sizes there. So, we've got some options. So again, just like to wait till Friday and see where our numbers are at, because again, we may have some lower numbers in the elementary.
Okay. Did anybody have anything further on this? All right, then, the Federal Transit Administration mandate. There's no attachment to this. Mark, can you tell us how this is going?
Well, right now, we're required, they're required to wear masks on buses. That's a federal mandate. And our bus company, when kids come on without a mask, they're handed one. If they don't wear it, we're kind of helpless to do anything, because we can't discipline kids for not wearing a mask on the bus. So kicking them off the bus is discipline. And I've asked this question, of all the superintendents in our CISA group and NBC, and they're in the same boat. They don't know what to do, so, they're hoping, just that the parents will, make them wear them. The bus drivers are wearing them. If we get any reports, I go over to, I was just over to Safeway the other day, talking about the same thing, and, for their buses, the bus drivers to be the mask police, they have a hard time doing that, because they've got to
driving.
focus, and they're driving, So, it's a tough one, it's really tough, again, we require them to wear them, but our hands are tied on discipline.
Why is that?
That's part of the mandate. We cannot discipline students.
So how
That's
can
the- That's
they-
the big question is, why can't we? But-
How can they discipline you, kick you off the airplane if you don't wear a mask?
We don't have any airplanes.
Well, no,
I
but
don't.
it's a federal mandate,
Yeah, but that's the thing, we can't discipline kids for not wearing it. That's the problem we have. So, again, we're just hanging on hoping that people will abide by that. And I don't know for sure what percentage is or isn't. I haven't heard too much from the outside that there's been an occasional, I think maybe one or two people, calling and saying, hey, this bus, they're not wearing masks on or what have you, and then call Dewey up and, okay, we'll get on it. So falling short of calling kids in, getting names and scolding them, that's about the only thing we can do. But if they don't wear them the next day, we're back at square one, and we've got so many other things to do that it's just, I don't think it's good use of our time right now, but again, we're encouraging it and holding to it.
Are there any repercussions to our funding from federal sources or coverage with our insurance?
Well, our insurance-wise, if we go down the route of, yeah, there is repercussions going against mandates and orders. They won't defend us if we get hauled in court.
Right.
So, yeah.
Are we doing what we need to do?
Yeah, we're doing what we need to do across the board in all the areas that we are. And that's why, that's the difference between, the governor making it, an order, what have you, then we have to abide by it. Yeah, same with St. Croix County Health. If they direct and order us, we have to abide by them. They're not doing that, and they haven't. Everything from them has been guidelines and what have you.
Recommendations.
Yeah, recommendations and guidelines, which leaves it to our interpretation, and, we've implemented basically, what are parents' wishes, teachers' wishes, and administration. We take those three factors into, consideration on when we make decisions about health-wise with classes or what have you. So, again, just to answer your question, there's mandates we have to abide by. Otherwise, we are in trouble with our insurance company. We've checked that out.
I do pick up and drop off with my first grader, and I can say a lot of bus drivers aren't wearing them at all. So,
And
and I know it's a private, but it's one of those things that lead,
And I've seen some while they're standing out there, while they're off the bus or what have you, if our kids are on.
this is driving, like when
They don't have,
I'm going
when
by,
they're with
they're
the
not
kids,
wearing
I always try and stand out here after school and, I see a lot of,
pulling them up.
yeah.
Yeah, and and that's the thing, is if it does have a repercussion on the district due to various things, that's a big deal.
And like I said, I've been over there several times, talking to their, managers about this is a must.
Right.
And they know it. They know it.
I'm just happy we have bus drivers right now.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say,
that's,
ours with the bus drivers
So,
is shortage.
I'm not gonna be pushing too hard back on it.
No, and that's true
Parents,
also.
please
We're
put
very
your kids in
fortunate.
masks on the bus. It's that simple. They don't do it.
So until that changes, we're under orders.
Any further questions or comments? Policy updates then. It's first reading. Second reading for the health services one, that's the one that we brought back after the questions. I sent out a page of notes and a copy of only 2 of them. Well, first of all, are there any questions about any of the policies under letter A?
board member code of conduct, under K, it has a number 3, but no, a G, letter G. It has a number 3, but no, sentence there. The green section of G.
Bottom of the first page.
Oh, I think that's just a numbering thing.
Okay.
But Tasia, will you
Yeah.
check on that?
Yeah, I just pulled it up and it is.
It's just something with the formatting with the numbers.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else? Then on the 55, or 5310 health services, this was in our first readings. Well, this was a review. This is one of our health policies that we're required to review annually. And there were a lot of questions on some of the wording. And our Neola representative got back to us and said the wording is directly from the statute, and that's why it's phrased the way it is. And Abby, you addressed this also at that meeting, and you had some language from Ryan, our school nurse. And I contacted him and asked him for that in writing, so that we could add that clarification to the policy, hoping that would help people understand. So examples of examinations which may require incision would include deep slivers, ticks that have embedded into the skin, etc. Examples of examinations which may require insertion include, I think you say it, otoscope, exams that allow a light to be shined in an individual's ear to inspect the inner ear for possible ear infections, and examples of examinations which may require injection include insulin injections for diabetic students, EpiPen injections for students with allergies, etc. And this policy also allows organizations and events such as Bridging Brighter Smiles and the flu clinics that we hold in our buildings. So Roxanne, you wanted to make sure that we brought this policy back also. Do you think this covers everything that, to help clarify for people?
Yeah, I think I remember the public comment,
Yeah.
there was someone that wanted this clarified, and I don't know if we even go so far as to put a sentence in there. I mean, just to really address what I think the concern was. We would never issue any sort of vaccination without parental consent, or I don't know if that's what they were looking for, was some sentence to say that that is something we would not do.
Well, of course not, yeah.
But I think they would love to see that in writing. That was my opinion when the public spoke.
The state of Wisconsin doesn't allow schools to do anything without parental consent. So I mean, I get
So
putting
maybe
it
we
in
could
there,
even just
but,
put that, the state of Wisconsin would not.
but this is bigger than, it just for a policy, we're going by statute, and to add something like that in there because people can't ascertain that we're not a vaccination clinic is not what policies are for. You know, like I get, if they can't read the fact that this doesn't have vaccinations and then we're not gonna do that, that's on them.
Yes.
It's not this district's responsibility to spell out.
And I'm only
that.
bringing that up because that seemed to be the concern of the parent that was speaking. So that was just me offering just a suggestion if it was possible.
Well, and I think et cetera leaves it open to what is et cetera. What one person considers et cetera might not be the same. And to your point though, when New Richmond did their clinic, they sent that email to the students, and so a person posing as their 12-year-old child was able to complete all of the paperwork and could have gone in for the vaccination.
Why was a person posing as a 12-year-old child?
To see if it worked, if they
Oh,
were
but-
able to sign in and
You can sign in and do that, you still need parental consent, like you can't.
that was considered their consent.
It's not though. I looked into the Nourishment thing. That was something someone did expecting that. The district, I spoke with members on the board, that was not what happened. When you actually went to the site, so I hope that parent didn't try to pretend they were 12, they needed to have that. Like it wasn't,
Just
here-
the form
yes,
filled out
it wasn't,
online.
and that's the fake stuff that people said. That's not what happened in Nourishment at all.
So,
At the actual event.
do we do excluding, or do we want to get that specific? Because I've had that same question come up.
Wisconsin statute is explicit that you cannot inoculate a child or give vaccinations without parental consent, anything. That's a health law, not a school board law, and there's no school in the state that's going to go above that health law. And if people don't understand that that's the law, that's on those people. It's not on the school board to explain medical law to the public.
And the statutes are listed below. Every single one of our policies has the statute.
So they can reference it and look at it themselves.
Okay, I just, that was just because the public had brought it up, so
Yeah.
I figured I
So
would
this,
mention it.
the health services, we'll bring all of these back, including the health services one, for approval at our regular session later in September, because we are adding some verbiage to the health services one. And it's with the input of our health staff in the district. Did anybody have any questions on any of the other policies? Anything else? All right, then, topics for action. Would anybody care to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve A1 and 2, B1.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roxanne. So we have a motion by Bruce and a second by Roxanne. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of the items?
I was excited to see Nancy Claus on there. Sorry. I'm just loving. I was excited to see that addition for the district.
Yeah, she keeps trying to retire and they keep bringing
She just fails at retiring.
I'm excited to see we have someone for our maintenance position. Would you like to
Yeah,
add?
love to just, a few comments about Tim. We're really excited. You know, it was kind of interesting interview process. I think we interviewed 5 people, and we had 3 of the 5, you know, really, it was pretty tight, and we narrowed it down to 2 people and had them come back for a second interview where we walked around the district, looked at all the facilities, and really got a chance to talk, you know, get to know them better. And, you know, a lot of times you can tell the level of people are at by the questions they ask. And, you know, Tim had in his former life his own cleaning business, which is a huge, huge plus for us. He lives in Hudson, very close. And I was really more impressed after our walk around. We spent about an hour, hour and a half, and I think you were in the office when we were taking the walk around. You might have.
And was that Tim's?
The tall guy that was there. Anyway, very personable. I'll bring him into one of our next meetings to have him just introduce himself and talk. But he'll be starting October 4th, which was really nice. He's a head of maintenance in Washington County, for the county. So and it comes highly, you know, everyone I spoke to said, hey, you're getting a rock solid person here. So we're excited.
Good.
We're excited in that. But I'll have him come to one of our next meetings and just so he can introduce himself to you.
That'd be great. How many applicants did we have?
Boy, Dave was handling that. I think we had
59.
59 applicants.
Oh, we were concerned about getting applicants. That's great.
Yeah, there was some really good people there. And now we have some good leads for, you know, when he takes over George's position, we'll have a maintenance tech for the elementary, so we've got some people in that pile that are you interested, so.
And are you going to let them know that option is going to be available down the road?
Yeah, and I think Dave he made those comments to people that, when he made the calls, to say, hey, not another way, but there's another opportunity coming up, and again, we've seen some in there that would be really good.
Good.
So we're all set.
Did anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We are to the once around the table portion of the meeting. Just a reminder to people that due to open meeting laws, this is a time to bring up topics to be placed on the next agenda or a future agenda. It is not the time to bring a topic to the table for discussion. All right? So, Patty Jo.
Well, this is my last work session, so I have nothing to bring to the agenda or to anything. It has been okay. It has been an okay experience in my life. It is not, it is not what I expected at all. It's really easy to do what everyone yells at you to do. It's really easy. And I thought I'd come in and show all the messages I had for positive that people provided me, because I had a lot of them. You know, and I was gonna bring all the positive messages so people could see that I actually was hearing from the people who thought that I wasn't listening to the people, that I had people saying things to me, supporting masking. But it's honestly not worth it at this point. I think that this school district has so much to work on and so much room to grow. And if they keep focusing on political stuff and keep trying to move their personal agendas, as they say I was doing, which I don't have a personal agenda because I'm not going anywhere for personal agenda stuff, but if people keep trying to use these positions to do so, our schools are just gonna fail. And that makes me sad. And hopefully, the Somerset School District will start working against that and start actually working to come together, because I'm just not seeing it right now, and it's really, really disappointing. I'm really disappointed in a lot of my community members. And it's fine by me, like, I'm over it, but I just thought Somerset was a lot better than what it's displaying right now, so. That's all.
Thank you.
Don't put it on the agenda though.
No.
Thanks.
Roxanne.
I don't have anything other than to say, Patty Jo, you have been nothing but kind to me. In fact, I like sitting next to you because you whisper in my ear when I don't understand things.
It's the rules, don't say that.
Well, it's always just helping me understand what's taking place, but you've always been kind to me. You've been sort of a mentor to me. As a person, I think you're a really exceptional human being, and I hope our paths cross. They will.
They will.
Because we have kids in the same grade.
Stuck together.
And I know they will cross as parents in the school district, and I wish you well and have lots of rest.
Thanks. You do know what I'm going home to, right? Like, that doesn't exist.
That's it for me.
Thank you. Sheree?
Nothing.
Bruce? Patty Jo, I'd like to express my appreciation as well for your service to the community and on the board. And you have been a tremendous asset, especially when it comes to policies. Yeah. And so one of the items on our next agenda, Tasia, if you could make a note of this, we are going to have to talk about policies and how we're going to move forward with that, because it is a lot of work. We have 56 policies in our new draft, our new download, and to get those all done within the next 4 months will require a minimum of 15 per month. And you may have noticed that we don't have 15 on this agenda because of the annual meeting that comes after this, and another meeting that comes after our annual meeting. So it was a huge contribution to our district, Patty Jo. Thank you. Marge?
I want to thank you for being on the board too. I've only been on the board since April, but you've done a lot of work, and I'm sorry that you were treated so poorly. I don't agree with the way people thought they were getting things done. And on the agenda, I don't know if I can put this on the agenda or not. I've asked for it 4 or 5 times about a survey for the flex mod schedule, and I have parents asking me about it. And just because they're not out here protesting, I think they deserve to have it. They were promised it 2 years ago, and it needs to be done.
Okay, so hopefully we'll get some information about that.
Okay.
All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Patty Jo.
Second.
Thank you, Marge. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.